All right, Coach, if you want to start us off with a quick statement, 2 weeks into camp and after our first scrimmage on Wednesday, and then we'll go to questions.
Yeah, really pleased with the progress that we've made thus far. You know, we're entering the third block, or the third quarter of our entire camp phase, and finished up the first scrimmage. You know, came out of it pretty healthy, just a couple of bumps and bruises, but nothing major. One thing that has really stood out is just the play of our defense so far. We acquired some new bodies on the defense side of the ball, and you can tell the way they fly around, their communication has continued to improve. But the biggest thing is the athleticism that we've kind of shown on the defense side of the ball. I've been really impressed with those acquisitions that we made. They've really showed to be the difference right now in our football team. Offensively, we've been making some strides as well. You know, our quarterback play has continued to improve. I think they take a step each and every day as far as just their knowledge of the offense and what they're trying to do. And what we have to continue to do is up front in the trenches is continue to strain and continue to play hard and continue for us to keep grasping the knowledge that we need.
Questions for Coach?
Would you say any part that you talk about defense, would you say they're ahead of schedule, or were you basically expect them to be?
Well, right now I feel like they're slightly ahead of schedule because we have a lot of information in right now. After this block, we'll peel back some and just kind of figure out what we do well and what we don't do. But the offense has been seeing basically a different look almost every day. Defensively, they've been able to put in a bunch of different personnel packages and a bunch of different schemes, which always, you know, is challenging to the offense because they have to adjust to things on the fly. But I do think from a standpoint of where they're at now, they are ahead of schedule.
What's about yourself and what surprised you? Any surprises for you in this time?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the way those guys are competing that were lower on the depth chart as we came out of spring. You know, some of those guys that we anticipated to be threes or maybe even twos, you know, they kind of taking them on themselves and they have pride in themselves. They're fighting for those starting positions. They're fighting for playing time. The competition back and forth between our guys has been competitive, not combative. They've done a really good job of competing against one another, really taking hold of iron sharpening iron.
Talk about that, because the folks up in Flowery Branch have had some issues with that, with being combative and being competitive. How do you distinguish that? How do you want your team to distinguish that?
Yeah, I think they just got to understand this is all the people, these 105 men that we have on this field, this is all that's walking through here right now. So the biggest thing is keeping everybody healthy, making sure you take care of your brother. We talk about getting your feet to the ball. You know, it's a lot of extracurricular sometimes after the play is done. A lot of times you see guys diving and continue to strain, but understand, play through the whistle, play through the echo of the whistle, and just understand that that is your brother. And at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to make sure we sharpen one another, but let's make sure we take care of one another as well.
The clock is ticking for your first game. Who's more excited, the players or coach?
I think there's a lot of anxiety on both ends right now. We know we're near where we need to be. Thank God we don't have to go out there and play next day or the next 2 days. But we are making really good progress. We are making really good strides. I think this third and fourth block, which you'll see more situational football, so we can kind of work the mechanics of coming from the sideline, certain situations that happen throughout the course of the game. We just want to be cleaned up and tighten up on a lot of those things.
Coach, you said that defense really stood out to you in that scrimmage on Wednesday and all throughout this preseason. Was it the guys' intensity, their skill, their passion? What was it about their defense that stood out?
Yeah, I think 11 has to the ball. Right now, our motto is kind of hit everything that moves, and they kind of exemplified that with the way they play right now. You constantly see guys, whether it's in the trenches or on the outside, flying to the football. We had a great turnover by another guy. He punched the ball out, the peanut punch. So we just really impressed with the way that they're flying around. I think the competitive and the intensity that they've attacked each day with has been really good, too. You know, they had a really good session the other day in the scrimmage, but also, too, to respond to it in the red zone area, the offense kind of came through and kind of got the best of them in that area. So it's really good back and forth. But I would say right now the defense, as it's supposed to, really has the edge right now.
What are some faces that have really stood out to you so far heading into the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I think on the offense side of the ball right now, our quarterback position, Dexter Williams and Amari Odom, like those guys have really done a really good job of really taking our systems and digesting it and applying it to the field. I think, too, you know, on the defense side of the ball, been really impressed with Ike Paul, like the way our safety's been playing right now. They've done an excellent job as far as taking those things and running with it. And then, too, I think the last person is Jaden Kelly. You know, Jaden Kelly is a guy we brought in here. He's really pushing for some more playing time at that linebacker position. He can run. He's athletic. He communicates well. So just a couple of names that just kind of keep jumping out every day we come out here.
These new jerseys that you guys have, they have gained a lot of positive attraction
I'm going to take that all to our equipment manager. Like he did a really good job of putting that together. I tell him all the time, I'm just along for the ride. You know, they design it, they get with the players, they do a good job of trying to piece some things together. But Race has done a really good job of really getting our equipment and our jerseys and our systems where they need to be up to par.
You had a couple guys from the secondary make a watch list. What does this say about the strength of the secondary?
Well, I think it really says, you know, what they did last year, you know, really has nothing to do with this year. But it is always good for people to recognize that those guys are on the radar, so people are watching them. So we're excited about like what their potential could be. But potential doesn't win football games. They have to continue to showcase, you know, take a step from what they did last year. The goal is to win the award, right? So like obviously they did enough to garner some attention, but we want them to take the next step and really showcase they can win it.
From as a new head coach, how have you gone about creating chemistry with both returning players and the new players?
Well, camp is a big part of that. You know, we try to separate the camp into like basically 4 quarters, which is 4 blocks. And in every block, we try to talk about, we designed a leadership council to kind of talk about the good and the bad of what we need to work as a team and where we need to go as a football team. We've done a lot of team building things over the summertime. The guys are in a hotel doing camp so they can try to create that chemistry and create that bond. And we just have transparent, open discussions. Like every day after practice, one of our leadership council members is going to talk about a teammate of the day that he's showcased what exemplifies to be a teammate. Standing, it could be on the field, it could be off the field, but those are just some of the things as we kind of spend that time around one another. And obviously the stuff that we did in the summertime is trying to get those guys to communicate and spend more time around one another.
Over these past couple of weeks, how has the team adjusted to your coaching styles and your expectations?
I think they did a good job. You know, you can see this is a unit. I feel like they are trying to do everything our coaches ask of them. They are a very coachable unit. Now it's up to the coaches to continue to demand what we need because it's nowhere near close to what we want. But I will say these guys have a pride about themselves. They do have a chip on their shoulder. They want to have a winning season. You know, a lot of these guys were here before, and some of these guys are coming in from other places because they've seen opportunities. They notice there's an opportunity at Kennesaw to do something special. And the guys that were here before, they don't want the same thing that happened this year that happened last year.
Coach, looking ahead, what is your biggest focus going into next week's camp?
The biggest focus as we enter that 4th block, that last session of fall camp, is really just the mechanics of the game operations to kind of get cleaned up. We're going to continue to install some different schemes and really continue to challenge them and make some evaluations. But there's still a lot of football left. Like I said the other day, we're at the halftime spot right now. So right now, being at the halftime spot, we're coming out to half. This is the 3rd quarter. We still got some ways to go before we wrap this camp up.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Good. Hey.